Substantiate, to establish by proof or competent evidence. Welcome back to Substantiate. I'm the host, William Glasser, bringing you hypothetical sports matchups every single week. Yes, welcome back to Substantiate, or if it's your first time listening, thanks for clicking on us today, and we're happy that you can be listening this morning or this afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this. Thanks for clicking on us. Again, I am William Glasser. Follow all the socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at substantiatepod. Running a lot of stuff there going on. And today I am joined by Anthony Sytko from the Capes on the Couch podcast, and we are talking about MCU characters, so Marvel characters, heroes versus villains, playing ice hockey. So this is a great episode, lots of fun to record with Anthony. He's got his own podcast, which he'll tell you about in just a minute. And also, make sure to keep an eye on my Twitter and Instagram. I'm trying to organize a clubhouse room for this Friday to just talking everything sports, just sports talk, trying to get some other people to join me as well. So that's all good stuff. You can follow me there at William Glasser. That is my handle. Also trying to figure out how to start a club. I think I just need to be more active on the app, and then eventually I'll be able to do that, and that could be a cool place to just talk sports in addition to the podcast, although the podcast isn't directly sports talk. Anyway, again, if this is your first time listening, welcome. I talk about hypothetical sports matchups every week. We got almost 20 episodes now in the back catalog. Let's see, this is season 2, episode 8. And then we had 11 episodes in the first season. So that would make this episode 19 overall. Next time, episode 20. Next week, it may not be the usual release schedule on Wednesday. Not totally sure. But stay tuned on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. Just, keep your eye there for next week's episode, because it may be a day or two off. There's something exciting coming next week as well, just like every week. Anyway, let's not take up too much more time. And if you want to screenshot and post on your social media on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, tag us at substantiatepod. We'll retweet or share on IG stories, and we'll share that out, because that's awesome if you can do that. I always think about it how if everyone got one of their friends or family to listen to the podcast, then the audience would double. And that's pretty amazing for doing not that much work per person. But you can only do that if everyone shares it. So, there should be, just copy the link, send it to friend, post it on social media, go do that. And again, reposting / retweeting, all of those. So without further ado, let's get into my talk with Anthony. Today, I'm here with Anthony from the Capes on the Couch podcast. How are you today, Anthony?
It's fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to a fun discussion.
Yeah, so am I. Thanks for coming on. So before we hop into this, do you want to talk for a minute or two about yourself and Capes on the Couch podcast?
Sure. As you said, I co-host Capes on the Couch. We are a podcast that examines the mental health and psychiatric issues of superheroes. My co-host is a board-certified psychiatrist, and each episode examines a particular character, hero, villain. Sometimes it's a theme or a relationship between two characters, and we break down that character's or theme's major psychiatric issues, and then offer legitimate treatment options for the character, both in universe and then a real world application for treatment options for real individuals with these particular issues. And at the end, we like to role play a fun little skit wherein my co-host plays the psychiatrist and I play the patient, and what a therapy session with this character would actually look like. And so we've been doing it for close to 3 years now. Our website is capesonthecouch.com, and we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Capes on the Couch. And it's a fun show. And coming up in March, we're going to be celebrating our 3rd anniversary. So we're spending the whole month talking Batman.
Yeah, that's great. And you guys recently had a WandaVision episode. It was before the series even started. And
yeah, well, we focused primarily on the comics, but we did discuss, some sort of potential guessing as to what some of the things might be discussed in the TV show. And I have to say, so far, I am loving it. Very, very enthralled. I can't wait for the new episode coming out this week.
Yeah. It just makes you think about it in a whole different way because the superheroes aren't perfect.
They are definitely not perfect. And yes, over 100 episodes, I can tell you, they got their problems.
Yeah. All right. Now, to ease in today's topic a little bit. So, Anthony, if you were able to be a superhero in a movie, who would it be?
Gosh, it would have to be a tie between my 2 favorite Marvel characters, which are Captain America and Moon Knight. And I know that they are wildly divergent in their personalities and such, but I always like to say that Cap is who I aspire to be, and Moon Knight is who I am afraid of becoming if I slip. So I have a special place in my heart for Mark Spector.
Yeah, I think if I had to be a superhero or able to play one in a movie, I'd probably go with like Ant-Man because, I don't know, his powers and being able to change size, it seems pretty cool. And he doesn't get shaken up too much, not as much on the dangerous side.
Yeah, he's got a cool power set. And the movies are pretty solid. Looking forward to Quantumania when that comes out.
So now today we're talking about MCU heroes versus villains in hockey. So you have a lengthy background in hockey, Anthony.
Yeah, I've been playing for, about 20, 25 years. My father played ice hockey. I've been playing various forms of street and roller hockey. And I have a team, which we're not playing right now, obviously, because of COVID. But the team has been playing consistently roller hockey in the central North Jersey area for 22 years now. A lot of the same guys are still on the team from when it first started off. So it's a lot of fun. We're definitely one of the older teams in the league, but we still have a ball.
And I guess you could say, a bit of the ins and outs of hockey.
I think that's a fair statement. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're each going to start off this episode by drafting a team of heroes and villains. So Anthony's team is going to be the villains and my team is going to be the heroes. So Anthony, you may make your first pick.
All right. Looking at the long list of heroes, or villains rather, that I have compiled here. And as a former goalie myself, I'm currently now a forward, but I started off as a goalie. I think you have to build a team from the net out. And I think starting off with a goalie, you need to look at somebody who obviously has athletic skill. You need to look at somebody who has quick reflexes and copious amounts of flexibility. And so I think for my money, you can't go wrong with Batroc the Leaper, George Batroc, from Captain America Winter Soldier. I know George St. Pierre played him. He was more of the MMA style character, but I thought he did an amazing job at taking an underrated Cap villain and making him a legitimate threat. In the comics, Batroc is sometimes portrayed as a bit of a joke, but I thought bringing in GSP to play him, quibbles about the accent notwithstanding, as just a really inspired choice and really gave Cap an opportunity, especially in the beginning of that movie, to show off exactly what he was capable of. The intro to Winter Soldier still, as a Cap fan, just blows my mind, especially after, not slamming the first Avenger, but his fighting style in those 2 films and even in the Avengers, wildly different from the version of Cap that we see in Winter Soldier. So Batroc, it would be my goalie for the MCU.
Yeah, so that seems like a great pick for the goalie, Batroc, and I guess I'll have to pick a goalie as well. So initially, I'm thinking about someone with size, like Hulk is big, but then maybe want to go a little bit more on the reflex side. And I'm thinking like Spider-Man, he's got quite the reflexes, or there's a lot of good options here. Spider-Man seems to be a little bit on the smaller side, but yeah, I mean, I think I'll have to go with Peter Parker.
I was going to say, if Darren Pang can make it as a goalie at like 5'4", then I don't think there's that much of an issue picking Peter Parker as your goalie. He certainly has, I think, potentially the best reflexes of most of your hero picks.
Yeah.
So an inspired choice.
The Spidey sense.
He may need to beef up just a little bit, but he's a little on the lanky side, but he could wear some fat goalie equipment. It worked for Lundqvist and Jaguar.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. There's something about the Spidey sense where I can just picture him now thinking about it, just like darting around, just picking up pucks left and right. Just the reflexes are supernatural, you could say.
Yeah, that's a good pick for a goalie.
Yeah. All right, on to your second pick.
Okay, so I started off as a goalie, and then I moved to defense. I'm currently now a forward, but I do have an appreciation for the defense, and I think you need to have a balance on defense. It's good to have somebody that can move the puck and can operate as almost a fourth forward, but I think you also need somebody that has a bit of that size that can lay the body, because if you've got forwards pressing in on the attack, you need to be able to push them to the outside. You've got to have somebody who's got some size and strength. And so I'm going to go with the Abomination as one of my defensemen. I want that size. He's not going to be the fastest guy out there, but you're not going to be able to put a body on him. He's going to knock the opposing forwards off the puck. So he's my pick as one of my defensemen.
Another one of those big guys, like I was talking about a little bit, potentially choosing Hulk as a goalie, but I mean, Abomination is just a big monster. I think I'm going to go out to my wings now. I'm thinking about maybe taking the Winter Soldier. I feel like he's got some speed and really control over him. I think I'll go with Bucky. I'll go with the Winter Soldier as my right wing. He just, with the vibranium arm and stuff, I feel like, he's going to have a crazy hard slap shot. And I mean, it's not football where you're stiff arming someone, but he's definitely on the physical side. And I think he could be a little more nimble maybe than Abomination on your defense.
Oh, that's no question there.
Yeah, Abomination's just a big clunky guy, almost the opposite of Peter Parker.
Yeah, not similar at all.
And one's a hero and one's a villain. Yeah, on to your pick. Are you gonna keep working out the defense?
I will work out on the defense, and I'm looking at my list, and so here I've got Abomination, and so I've got the size. Now I need somebody who's got some speed, and I also need somebody who's got good vision and can move quickly and can make those plays and see things that are developing and hit those breakout passes. And so I'm going to go with Ultron as my other defense, because I think that Ultron would do a fantastic job once he puts his ego in check, such as it is for a robot, that he would be able to hit some of those breakout passes and see plays developing before they even really happen.
Yeah, and Ultron's just a very calculated robot, as robots seem to be. But he just seems like he'd play really statistically and be able to get the puck out to whoever you decide to choose as your wings in center. In Ultron, you can just like almost see him just, if my players are on a breakaway, him just being able to get back and find the right angle and have the best chance to block a shot.
Exactly. He's not lacking in physicality, but he's much more agile than an Abomination. So I kind of want the two of them to play off each other. You can't have two pylons out there at the same time. And Abomination's got the size, but he definitely doesn't have the agility.
Yeah. So now on to, I'm going to go with a defender here. So with my left defense, I am selecting Wong. I think that Wong, to the point where Ultron is very calculated, I think Wong is spiritual in that sense. And, whatever kind of magic he decides to use, I don't know if there's something with speed, but he's definitely, he has a very clear mind, and, he'll be, if someone's down on the team, he'll be able to pick them back up. And I think he'll be a good rock to have on my defense.
That is an inspired choice. I would not have gone with Wong, at least on my first pair, but he's a good pick. Good pick.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite non-main character Marvel characters, because he's just like that chill guy in the background that, I don't know, his powers and his personality.
Okay, I see that.
So now are you going to work your way around to your wings?
Yeah, I'll start off on the wings. Wingers need to be fast. They need to be agile. They need to be where you need them to be. They need to be where the puck is going, not where it is. And so also, I am a firm believer in equality in hockey. And if you can play, you could play. And I make no judgments about gender or anything like that. And so my right winger is going to be Ghost, because I think she would do a fantastic job of moving in quickly and getting into the lane and being able to sort of phase to where she needs to be for the puck. I think trying to guard her is going to be very difficult for Wong, and whomever his defensive partner is, I think is going to be a bit of a challenge. So I'm going to go with Ghost on my wing.
Yeah, and with her phasing ability, and I mean, we haven't really talked about powers and how they'll come into play, but if she can phase, then that just creates a whole nother level of complexity and a whole nother problem for the defense.
Well, I see. Now I'm operating under the assumption, I don't know that the heroes are necessarily going to use their powers, but the villains are going to cheat. So the villains are absolutely going to use their powers. There's just no question, because what's making them hold back? I know that Ghost, at least as far as antagonists are concerned, is really more of the not necessarily an evil person. It was just more that she was looking to protect herself. So she's not as outright evil as, say, an Ultron or, even Abomination, but she still has that edge to her where she's going to do what she needs to do to take care of herself. So Ghost is going to have no qualms whatsoever about using her powers if need be. So that's on you to defend her. That's not my responsibility. You got to stop her.
Yeah, glad I mean, my sort of strategy in drafting these was, I went with, all right, the goalie. Spider-Man seemed to be a bit more of an obvious selection, but then kind of take a defender and a winger, so that way I still have room to work in with whoever you pick. And when I get to my second defender, my left defender, that will be important. But right now with my left wing, I'm thinking that, right, there are some big bodies on this ice. Abomination is going to take up quite the amount of space on defense. And I'm thinking that I'm going to need someone to just be able to find the hole in Batroc wherever you may leave that open and get the puck in the net, because ultimately that's how you win hockey. And so with this one, I have to go with probably the most accurate shooter, which is going to be Hawkeye.
Good call. Good call for that.
Yeah, a Hawkeye, I mean, a bow and an arrow compared to puck and a stick. Like, there's some similarities, I guess, but it's the whole element of accuracy and that characteristic of being so precise in everything that he does. Now, the only concern I have is if you select Loki and then if you take over Hawkeye's mind. So definitely gonna have to keep an eye out for that one, but I guess I'll have to take my chances.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was going to. You kind of just spoiled things for me. I was going to save him for last as my center pick, but I was going to say that for the center position, you need the playmaker. You need somebody, or I'm sorry, the center is not the playmaker, but the center is somebody who has to see where the play is going as well and be the one to dish things out onto the wings. And so the center needs to be somebody who is calculating and who has the plan. And so I was going to go with Loki as my center. So you kind of spoiled things for me a little bit there, but that's okay. Because I know who I'm picking for my last winger, I think. And then also, I don't know, I know we only talked about positions, but I've got an idea for a coach as well, because you're going to need somebody to organize all these people. That in. So we'll add in a coach as well, working behind the bench. So, but I'll let you finish with your next pick.
Yep. So next time, first of all, with Loki, depending on what time Loki's from here, then maybe he won't be able to take over Hawkeye. Fingers crossed. But for this one, I'm going to go ahead and draft my center. And here I'm looking for someone that is quick with the hands, gonna win some face-offs against Loki. And although Loki may be able to deceive her, I think that Okoye will just be a great person to have as the center.
That is a good selection.
Just thinking about her, lined up there and the puck drop. And I feel like the puck is going to be gone before Loki even has time to attempt to deceive her. And I think there's still a chance that no matter how many reflections of himself Loki projects or whatever, I think that she's just such a strong fighter that she'll be able to either see right through it or be able to fend off against anyone or however many Lokis she would theoretically need to.
That is a beautiful pick, and I wholeheartedly endorse that selection. Okoye as your center. That's good. That's good pick.
Yeah, definitely going to be a great matchup between Loki and her.
In the dot, yeah. That'll be oof. Well, I tell you this, she's not going to get intimidated and she's not going to get sucked into taking any penalty. She's not going to jump the gun early on the face-off dot.
No nonsense.
She's going to jock him dead in the eye and stare at him the whole time and win the draw anyway. So good on you. That's a fine selection. Well, so on to my last winger, and I need somebody again who's got the speed, who has the strength and agility needed to play on the wing opposite Ghost and to play with Loki. Again, somebody who's selfish to the point that some wingers really need to be, they kind of are selfish, and it's all about me and what am I going to get. And I think when you put all that attitude together, the only real perfect choice for me is Killmonger as my left winger. Michael B. Jordan, Killmonger, I think would make a fine left winger, an excellent addition to the team.
First of all, I think that's a great pick. I think he fits that criteria very well. And now when I'm drafting my last player, my left defender, now the biggest mismatch, I guess you could say, when you compare our lineups is obviously Abomination. I haven't drafted Hulk. And the only thing I'm worried about with Abomination is that, whoever invented hockey, out of all the things you could combine in sports, you combine large hits and ice in slippery. And I think that Abomination has half of that, but I'm not sure how well he's going to look on skates. And that's where I'm a little hesitant about drafting Hulk. And when it comes down to it, Abomination, he's not one of your wingers, so he won't have to match up with my defenders. But which is why I really don't feel the need to go as big with that on defense. And I'm going to stick with a bit of the smarter side of things, and just how like you drafted Ultron as your left defender, I'm going to draft Vision as my defender. Like, you can draw parallels between them. They're both robots with a soul in a way. I mean, Ultron, not as much a soul, but a little. If he's going for that diving save and being able to calculate, like, okay, there's X% chance he goes up, Y% chance he goes down. And I think that Vision is going to be a close equivalent to that on the hero side.
Yeah, fine pick, and certainly a good counterpoint to Ultron. So I think they would match up very, very well.
Yeah, I was considering putting him as my coach, which, again, with the whole robot mindset, may have been interesting, but I'll get into why I didn't pick him for my coach when it's that time.
So for a coach, then you need somebody who is obviously going to be able to coordinate all these people together, somebody who's got a plan, somebody who is able to make changes on the fly and really come up with a solid strategy. And so to me, the ultimate strategist among villains in the MCU is Zemo. And so if I'm picking a coach, that's who I want in charge of my group of villains. Now, I don't know how well he can get them to work together, but I think he has shown that he is cunning above all else. And so if I need somebody who's got a good strategy and a good plan for victory, I'm going to go with Zemo.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. I think he'll definitely have the spirit to kind of keep them together. Now, villains typically have, a bit of a large ego. And on your team, really with the exception of Ghost, you've got some, big personalities to work with. And on my side, I mean, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, he's a bit younger, a bit more, I guess, less disciplined. But with the rest of my team, I think they'll have a good chemistry and a coach to wrap it all up. I'm thinking about someone that it will have experience as a leader, which most of these people do, but also someone that has success with managing others. And for this one, at this point when we're recording this, WandaVision is last week was episode 5, but Wanda has controlled the entire town of Westview so far. And if she can control an entire town and have everyone completely deceived for at least 4 episodes, then I think she'll be able to lead and to be able to orchestrate this team of mine. She even fooled Vision. Vision's a dead corpse, and she manages to convince him, convince her, convince everyone that he's alive. And I think that although she may not have the best motive to do that in WandaVision, but regardless, I think that she'll be able to keep them intact and be able to pull the strings of this team instead of Westview.
See, now, if I were you, I mean, it's your team, you do what you want with it. But for me, if I'm picking somebody who's a coach, who's a leader, who can strategize and who can inspire people, because that's another important thing you need to think about is inspiring people. It's nothing, I think Wanda's a fine pick, but I mean, how can you go wrong with Captain America? He is like the strategist in the MCU. And you want to talk about inspiring, Cap will get anybody to run through a brick wall for them or skate through a brick wall. So I'm thinking, if I were the hero team, I want Steve Rogers giving me the pep talk. It's going to be some Herb Brooks miracle type stuff. Like we play them 10 times, they might win 9, but not tonight. This is your time kind of deal. Like I love that movie. But like I said, I think we've got 2 very interesting and very different teams and strategies here. And to your point, yes, I do have a lot of personalities on my team. It's not going to be easy for Zemo to convince them all that they're operating for a common goal, but I think he'll find enough to unite them and get them to work as a cohesive unit.
Yeah, and when I look at my team, like your team has a lot of large personalities. And on my team, with Wong, with Okoye and Hawkeye, they have pretty neutral egos. They're not as selfish. They're really not in it for themselves as much. And I think that with a bit of the leadership part, if, say, Wanda is still learning and getting better at that, then, that'll make things a little easier for her. But then you mix it up. Can she keep Peter Parker? Can she keep him, can she keep him up with the game? Can he stay disciplined enough, not completely clueless? I don't know, maybe mind control him, some hockey awareness, but all the different moving parts in this will be really interesting. And just to recap these teams, your goalie is Batroc, mine is Spider-Man. Your defense is Ultron and Abomination. Mine is Vision and Wong. Your wingers are Ghost and Zemo. Mine are the Winter Soldier and Hawkeye. And your center is Loki. Mine is Okoye. And your coach is Zemo. And mine is Wanda. And that's a lot. So you can either scroll down to the show notes to see a list of teams or check out our Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter for a list. So now if we go into some comparisons with, either some different, it's all one line, but my offense and your defense and Batroc is your goalie. And if we look at some of that stuff, what matchups stand out to you the most?
I think one of the ones that's going to be hard to manage is Hawkeye for my defense and my goalie because of the accuracy. Obviously, the size isn't going to be as much of a problem, particularly for Abomination and Ultron to body him off the puck. But he's so accurate that he'll be able to shoot the puck from anywhere, and it's going to be difficult for Batroc to consistently make those saves. So I think that Hawkeye is going to give my team fits trying to keep up with them. And again, I think that Spider-Man as your goalie is also going to be a little hard for my wingers to cope with. Not saying that we can't do anything, just that it's going to be difficult. Now, having said that, I think of the 2 defenders you have, Vision is, I think, your stronger choice. It's nothing against Wong. He's certainly got the magical defense, but I just think from a physicality perspective and maybe some of the agility stuff, that Ghost and Killmonger are going to be able to move around him a little bit. So there's going to be peppering a lot of shots onto Spider-Man. So it's going to be a test of his spider sense and his reflexes. So
yeah, with Wong, like if I had a captain and an assistant captain, then I think I'd give the captain to Wong and the assistant captain to Okoye, because like Wong, I think that he, like with the whole spirituality thing, and I think he'll be a good solid rock on the defense. I think he will just be a large part in that inspirational part that maybe if Wanda's more the brains, then maybe Wong will pick up on a little bit of the inspiring part. And Okoye, she's just a very hardworking person or fighter or player, and I think she'll earn it and deserve it. With my defense, if I look at the combined characteristics of your defense, Abomination and Ultron, and just comparing both teams, if you compare like maybe not one for one, the overall like characteristics comparison. But I think that if you like combine the defenses and the offenses separately, so just combine the defenders, I guess, then it matches up a little bit better. Now, with Abomination and Hawkeye, I'm a little bit worried about for Abomination how is he gonna make a 180? How is he just gonna turn around while on ice? Because I don't know, maybe it's just the big guy on ice or something, but I'm having a harder time just thinking about him on ice.
Well, I think we saw in the Incredible Hulk film that Blonsky, prior to going like full blown Abomination, was a very agile man, and even to some extent in the fight, once he was full blown sized, that he was able to move with some level of agility. He's not a complete pylon on defense, so I think it's a situation where he's not going to be the most agile player out there, but he's got some skill in there. He's not going to be, I'm throwing this out there, I don't know that anybody's going to get this reference. He's not going to be late career Bryce Salvador, where he's just, a pylon out there and you're just able to like make one move and you're around him. He's going to have some skill.
Yeah, I think that's a fair counterpoint to it. And yeah, with the combination of Winter Soldier, Okoye, and Hawkeye, I think that they'll be able to figure something out. But he blocks a lot of the vision across the ice. No pun intended with vision on my team. But I think that, being able to work around and then eventually find the open shot will be a little bit harder. And then I think that's where Hawkeye is going to really come important, because it may not be the most open shot. There may be a defender or two in the way, but to be able to find the holes and to find the gaps between defenders and just between Abomination's his body, plus add pads to that. Like if you think about the surface area of the pads that is going on to him, he's just so much bigger that when you add the pads on, it just adds so much more.
Yeah, like I said, he's not going to be a small body on the ice, and so I'm hoping to use some of that size to my advantage.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about how Wanda is going to strategize my offense, and I'm thinking, okay, well, if Hawkeye might be the best way to snipe and get the puck in the net from afar, then trying to work in with Winter Soldier and Okoye, who are both very physical in their own rights, and maybe try to just clear out the middle in one way or another, and Wong and Vision may be able to help facilitate that a bit from closer to the blue line, and just try to figure something out and just try to find that open shot no matter who it goes to.
Yeah, we're going full mid-90s New Jersey Devils. We're going neutral zone trap on you, and we're just going to shut you down in the neutral zone. We're going to keep the puck along the boards. We're not going to let you get anything through the middle. And then basically, if you're moving to on the right side, Abomination is going to body any of your wingers that try to move up the side, and Ultron is going to do the same on the other side. So I envision a lot of dump and chase for your forwards. And, luckily my wingers are going to be able to get back and help back check a little bit, and then break out of the defensive zone, moving some puck around on the offense. But definitely defensively, we're gonna neutral zone trap the bejesus out of you.
Yeah, just like when you do have such a large character as Abomination on your defense, and just thinking about him skating at you, that's just extremely scary. Now, again, granted, with Winter Soldier, Okoye, and Hawkeye, I think they'll be able to handle the intimidation part of it. But even subconsciously, that's a lot. That's a big guy coming full steam ahead right at you.
Absolutely.
If we work into the transition game, and as well as transitioning into my defense, your offense. Then just thinking about your wingers just moving the puck up the ice, and Ghost and Killmonger working along with Loki. And what are some things you envision for that group?
Well, I do see, again, the fact that you've got Ghost who can phase and you have Loki who can, in theory, make copies of himself. I think that's going to be used a lot to throw off your defenders, that Wong and Vision are going to have to be spending a lot of time figuring out not just where the puck is, but where the players are. And so I think if we utilize the element of surprise and confusion against your defense, it's going to allow for a lot of very interesting plays. Now, Killmonger obviously doesn't have powers, but he does have that speed and agility. And so I think he's going to play a big role in moving the puck up along the side and then getting it to a place in the ice where Loki or Ghost can get to without being encumbered by the defense. And again, it's ultimately going to come down to where the shots are going to be coming on Spider-Man. But if we can get into that high slot area and get in or through your defense, that if we can get in really close to Spider-Man and force him to have to constantly make those saves, I think if Ghost can phase her hands a little bit, she can sort of handcuff Peter and maybe, go top corns on him, dangle snipe Selly.
I think with Peter Parker as the goalie, he really brings in an X factor into this game. I could see it going really in two ways. Either A, where he's blocking almost everything, or B, where, okay, maybe the first period, maybe the second period, he's fine. But then I feel like he might just get tired by the end, just standing out there, and depending on his suit / pads. And I think that, yes, because my defense is a little smaller, I think that he will have to work a little more. And again, we didn't draft a second line or anything or backup goalie, but I think that if this was supposed to be over an 82 game season, or this year a 54 game season, then there would definitely be a fair timeshare with whoever the backup goalie would be.
Yeah, you can't ride him consistently throughout a full season like that. He's still young, he's developing. Got to give him a break. So, especially on back-to-backs, you'd probably start him in the first half and then give your backup the second night. You don't want him playing back-to-backs. At his age, you want to give him some breathing room.
Yeah, and just his mentor was obviously Iron Man, giving him the suit and everything. And maybe it's without Iron Man there, he acts a little differently, but I'm thinking about how effectively his girlfriend's dad, who's a criminal, figures out, not too complicated, that he's Spider-Man. And maybe your offense, maybe between Killmonger, Loki, and Ghost, maybe they'll figure out a flaw in his game. And then again, towards the second or third period, be able to exploit it, or just with my defense in general.
Yeah, I definitely see, especially with Zemo as the coach, this is not a team that I think is necessarily going to blow you out of the water in the first period, but this is a team that's going to game manage, and they are going to adapt to what they're seeing. And Zemo is going to be able to manage the team well and say, okay, if this is what they're showing us, then this is how we need to adapt, and this is what we need to bring. So second and third period, I think it's going to be different strategies for the later game, especially depending on how the start of the game goes. Because that's what it ultimately comes down to, is you have to manage your players, you have to manage your expectations, and you have to manage strategies to maximize the effectiveness of the team and seeing what the other team is throwing at you.
Yeah, I think that Zemo will definitely be playing the end game. Almost like the way Bill Belichick operated on the Patriots for so many years while he still had Brady, but just making adjustments at halftime and stuff, and being able to observe what his opponents are doing and be able to come up with a scheme to stop it and to match it.
Absolutely.
All right. So now, if you had to come up with 2 to 3 different deciding factors in this game, what are you looking at?
I'm looking at, obviously from my end, it's the ability of my team to coexist. So you have to look at team unity. As you previously indicated, we've got a lot of big personalities and big egos on the team. So I think it's going to be incumbent upon Zemo to get everybody in check. And if he can do that effectively, I think this is a team that's going to really do some damage. The physicality and particularly of the defense is going to come into play. And if they can muscle if we can muscle our opponents out and sort of put them on notice, then even if it's just that split second of making your forwards think, am I going to have to take a hit in order to do this? Even just that split second hesitation, in hockey, a split second is everything. So if we can create that doubt in the minds of the forwards, am I going to be able to execute my plays around the defense, then that gives us the advantage. So I think that's a huge thing. On another note, again, I think the accuracy of your team's shooting is going to be difficult to fight against. Again, Batroc, very agile, but between Vision and Hawkeye and even Bucky, I think you've got a lot of players that can really put the puck on the net and where they want it. And so you're constantly going to be testing Batroc, and it's going to come down to the ability of the defense to keep you on the outside. Because if you can shoot from the outside, you give Batroc a little more time to see the puck coming, and he has better reaction ability.
Yeah, definitely. And, Hawkeye, just the way he is, and a bow and arrow being different from a gun, like, say, Black Widow, but, being able to kind of calculate where whoever you're shooting at, in this case, Batroc, is going to be going. And a goal in hockey is a lot smaller than being to run wherever. And Hawkeye may have to, here he's trying to not hit Batroc, but he's trying to work around him. And with such a small goal compared to real life and running away from someone, I think that could prove to be Hawkeye's weakness here. And for me, I'd have to say that my defense, or the defense in general, how well does Abomination play? Does his physicality, does my team, does Wanda eventually figure out kind of what's going on with your defense and in Zemo's team's whole style of play? And compared to my defense, a little bit smaller with Vision and Wong and Spider-Man for that matter, and just the ways it matches up could really go either way depending on how the shots go with Hawkeye and Killmonger and Ghost.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be one of those things that could make for a very interesting, what's the word that just went right out of my brain? Simulation. Would make for a very fascinating simulation.
And now, if you had to, right as we wrap up here, if you had to, and we'll get to the winner at the very end, but if you had to give a 1-star, 2-star, and a 3-star to 3 players in this game, who are those awards going to?
I mean, well, I'm obviously biased for my team, so I'm going to go with my 3rd star will probably be Ultron, because I think, again, he's going to be making a lot of plays from the back end. He's going to be responsible for a lot of the breakout passes. You always need a good defender to be able to see things where they're going and put the puck in a position where the forwards can break it out. You don't want the forwards to have to do all the work. You want a defender to be able to hit the forwards in motion with the passes. So I think Ultron is going to be a big part of that. So he's going to be my 3rd star. My 2nd star is going to be Loki, because again, the center has to be able to make those dish passes to the wings, in the face-off dot, and just be sort of the forward, the offense manager while they're out there. And so I think a lot of that is going to come down to Loki's ability to do that. And then I think my first star, I'm going to go with Ghost, because I think she is really going to be a major asset. She's going to be a huge part of the game. And with the phasing ability, I think that's really going to be throwing Spider-Man off his game. And provided she can control that effectively, I think she's got a good opportunity to put a lot of pucks in the net and to be able to get to the net and put herself in a position where she can score and give my team the win.
Yeah, I think that Spider-Man is either going to be the downfall of my team or the reason why we win. And so depending on which way that falls, I would probably give him the 2 or 3 star. And obviously if Hawkeye is the main scoring force on my team, then he's probably going to wind up with the 1 star. And I'm probably looking at Vision there as either the 2 or 3 star, depending on how else, but he plays compared to Peter Parker on my team. And again, you can make arguments for all of these players, but that's the way I think it might fall. All right, so now just overall, who do you think is winning? If you had to take as much bias out of it as possible.
Again, if I had to take as much bias out, again, it's Hawkeye as one of your wingers, Okoye as your center. I think you've got a slim, like 51-49 chance of winning this game because of Hawkeye and everything else, and just because, like I said, the personalities on the team would kind of doom us to squabbling and infighting. If we can get our act together, we will be effective and win. And if we can neutralize Hawkeye, then I think it's all over for you. Having said all of that, I'll give you the 51% chance of winning.
Now, my last thought about neutralizing Hawkeye is that one way to do that is to fight him. And, well, that probably won't end well for either side, resulting in you in the penalty box as well as Hawkeye. But Hawkeye, I think, could be more seriously damaged. But, yeah, and depending on how Hawkeye is able to defend himself from your defense, Hawkeye, there's a lot of different things here, and I think that putting a slim advantage towards the heroes is a very good place to put it. And it's the kind of thing that'll change depending on the night. It'll change depending on the mindset everyone's in that night. And a game that you definitely want to watch. You definitely want to turn the TV and watch at each time that matchup is being played.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game no matter what.
Yep. All right, Anthony, do you have any last thoughts, or do you want to promote anything else before we sign off tonight?
Well, again, first off, thank you so much for having me. This was a blast, from one Jersey guy to another, even if you're not there anymore. And all of our episodes are on our website at capesonthecouch.com. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Capes on the Couch. And we've got a Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/capesonthecouch, you can subscribe and get some additional content. And if you go to TeePublic and you search for Capes on the Couch, you can buy some merchandise with our logo on it, our Why Because Comics logo as well. So there's a couple different ways that you can support the show. And just, like, rate, subscribe, review wherever you want to listen to us. We're on all of the major podcatchers.
And if you scroll down to the show notes when listening to this, I'll have all of the social medias and the website and a link to Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you are looking to check Capes on the Couch out, that is a quick place to go. And again, Anthony, thank you for coming on tonight and recording this episode with me. It was a great episode, lots of different heroes and villains, and takes the whole MCU and the whole universe of Marvel Cinematics to another realm and another place. Maybe in one of the 9 realms this is taking place.
In some version of the multiverse, this game is happening.
Yep. Maybe it's ours. Maybe that's what we're doing right now.
Could be.
All right. Thanks again, Anthony.
Thanks, William.
Yeah, so that was Anthony and I talking about some MCU heroes versus villains, playing some ice hockey. I think this was the first time on the podcast we talked about hockey, so that's awesome. And yeah, if you came over from Anthony, if he directed you over here, stick around, hit subscribe, or if you're just new in general, or follow if you're on Spotify, whatever. And, leave us a review if you can. All of the social medias for me at substantiatepod. And again, you can scroll down to all of that down in the show notes. And we got more stuff coming next week. Not totally sure about releasing an episode, about timing. It may come on a different day than usual for next week, but just keep your eye out for that in your podcast player. But other than that, thanks for listening and have a good day. Thank you for listening to this episode of Substantiate. The best way to help support the show is to, number one, tell your friends about Substantiate. That is the number one way to support us. The second way is to leave us a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. Number 3, follow us at substantiatepod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Hello, I'm Anthony.
And I'm Dr. Issues.
And we're hosts of Capes on the Couch, the podcast where comics get counseling.
Superheroes don't always get to go home happy. That's where we come in.
We offer psychiatric and mental health analysis of comic book characters.
So check us out at capesonthecouch.live and across all social media platforms at Capes on the Couch.